Welcome back to the channel for some more recent Star Citizen news highlights. Now first of all, I must apologise for my voice. I'm afraid I've had yet another attack of the highly contagious Banu flu. Now this week's Around the Verse was hosted by Sandy Gardner with Dave Haddock, and Ricky Jutley gave us an update on what the developers have been working on recently. Exciting to see the HUD layout for mining, and as you can see, it's not going to be just a case of pointing your laser and blasting a few rocks and picking up the bits. Everything here just shows the different commodities available and where you can actually mine. So then obviously the commodities are transferred to your ship. So a lot of depth there in mining. That's something I'm really looking forward to doing in 3.2. Can't wait to blast some rocks apart. So saw a HUD screen for what looks like some type of planetary scanning device, obviously to search for different minerals and commodities which could be lying on the moons or planets. And we also saw a prototype of a mining laser, and this one just shows that you've got to be a bit careful not to just press your mining laser power right to maximum. Otherwise you could have unfortunate circumstances arise. Continuing to work on the Origin 600i, we saw a lot of that ship last week, and also another ship we saw last week, the Aegis Avenger, and they're also working on the Anvil Hurricane and the Vandal Blade. Now they've been working a lot on different types of props which will be seen in the PU at a later time. Got to look at some work in progress on Hurston, and that looks very nice. Lots of nice green vegetation here, and they're also working on the Lorville landing zone, and work is ongoing on the procedurally generated rest stop stations. They're continuing to work on the legacy armour sets for the light, medium and heavy outlaw and marine armours. Ricky told us that they're continuing to add quality life improvements to the current version of Star Citizen, and they've taken on board the recent survey to prioritise certain features. Now one of the improvements they're aiming to do in the future is to improve the shopping experience with the kiosks, upgrading the abilities of the kiosks to have more items, and more interestingly, for some anyway, is that your components, your weapons and your onboard components on your ships will suffer degradation. So obviously that will come in eventually, where you'll have to swap out components and basically get them fixed. The other features they've been working on is quantum linking. So obviously this is a big benefit to groups of players, so they can actually quantum jump all together. So obviously that will be coming in the future. Now 3.1.3 has been released, and I've found it to be a lot more stable, better frame rates, and I also liked one of the features which they've been trying to implement for a little while now, and this time it certainly worked for me, is persistence when the server crashes. And it will still crash from time to time because obviously it is still an early alpha game. Anyway, to cut a long story short, due to some bad piloting, nothing unusual there, I lost my wing on my Aegis Vanguard, and well, basically, as you can see, I only have one wing. Anyway, shortly after, the game crashed, and obviously I was had to go back and reload the game. But when I rejoined, I found that my Aegis Vanguard was in orbit around Cellin, close to where the game crashed, and I only had one wing, so a true triumph of persistence. Now there was the usual calling all devs this week, where Gerard Huckleberry called up some devs. Now Ben Anders from Frankfurt was asked about non-combat AI for, say, cargo. Now, at the moment, there's no plans for that until 3.5 to 3.6, where you'll be able to have AI traders. At the moment, they're concentrating on AI combat and AI being able to land and also do FPS combat. Steve Tuberfield was asked about lockers and weapon racks. Are they still planned? And the answer is yes, they're still planned to work in conjunction with the Mobiglass, where you can store specific loadouts. But when? Well, that's to be decided. Now, Luke Presley was asked about racetracks on the moons, and originally they planned to have racetracks, but then the technology for the moons changed, and it has changed and will keep on changing, as you've seen the visual improvements in the moons in the Stanton system at the moment. But they are working on this scramble race, which will be a randomly generated race involving checkpoints, and that will be coming in the future. He was also asked about, will we be able to bookmark locations, wrecks, etc., drug labs, and the answer for that is in the future you will be able to bookmark locations and sell the info. This is an easy question, and I can answer this myself, about the roadmap for 2019. Well, in fact, 3.5 is already up on the RSI site, and some of what's to be done for 3.5 is listed there, but it is subject to change. Well, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as usual, please don't forget to like, and if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. So until next time, you take care, and hopefully I'll see you all sometime soon. Bye for now. Before I go, one last tip. Always remember to wear a helmet in an airlock.